Good evening, everyone. This is the regular Glencoe Village Board meeting for Thursday, May 11th. It's 7 o'clock. So I'll call the meeting to order, and then let's have a roll call, please.
Trustee Hallwax.
Here.
Trustee Listener.
Here.
Trustee Mulvaney.
Here.
Trustee Underdunk.
Here.
Trustee Rubin.
Here.
Trustee Vree.
Here.
President Rowan.
Here. And let me note that this is the last roll call for two of our trustees, and we'll probably be hearing more about that soon. We're live streaming this meeting, and we've posted the links to the live stream on the village's social media pages. We'll make a recording available on the village's YouTube channel following the conclusion of this meeting. The first item on the agenda for us is a consideration of minutes. The minutes have been circulated. They've been published online. They're the Committee of the Whole and the Board of Trustees regular meeting, both on April 20th, 2023. Are there any corrections or changes to the minutes? And if not, is there a motion to approve them?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Voice vote. All in favor?
Yes.
Anyone opposed? The motion carries. The minutes are approved. The next item on the agenda is public comment. This portion of the meeting allows for those in attendance to address the board regarding non-agenda items. I'll ask that public comments on agenda items be made at the time we discuss the agenda item. All comments should be limited to 3 minutes, and I'll notify the speaker when their time is up. Are there any public comments about non-agenda items? I don't hear any. This takes us to the next item on the agenda, which is the reports of the committees. The first report is from me concerning the Committee of the Whole. We just had that meeting, and at that meeting in the finance room downstairs, we discussed the development of a State of the Village report, which is used to prepare the village's strategic plan. Next report is the Finance Committee. Trustee Vree's final report on the Finance Committee.
My final one. We met on Tuesday and had our normal agenda of going through the village finances for the month. And tax receipts have all basically come back. The delay, we've had, funky timing for all the tax payments, but everything is really operating on track. There are a few categories within the budget that are, had a month of perhaps a little bit light in terms of revenue, but it's a month, so hopefully it's nothing more than that. Otherwise, village finances are all on track. We also discussed our donation policy for the Glencoe Golf Club. We're building a big building. Hopefully we can raise a lot of money. So we wanted to discuss the ways to accept donations as they come. And that was the meeting.
Thanks for that report. The next report is the Plan Commission, and Trustee Listener is our representative on the Plan Commission.
Yes, and I'll make it very brief. We actually didn't meet this past month, so I have no report on that, though we are involved in working on the comprehensive plan, and we will be meeting later in May. Thank you.
Pithy. Next report is the Golf Advisory Committee. Trustee Hallwax.
The Golf Advisory Committee will be meeting this Monday at 5:30 for anybody who'd like to attend. In terms of the course operations, as everybody could experience, April was a nice month with above average temperatures, which tends to be correlated with more golf being played. So we had 900 rounds above budget, and fees are above budget by 30%. If you've been out there, it's been really busy, and it's been busy well into the evening, which is really great to see. The Golf Academy revenue is behind budget because the new instructor is going to need some time to grow a clientele. And something to note, though, that we do this year have a lot more group lessons, and this is being well received. It's the first lessons that start in May are fully booked. It's a nice way for people to come out and experience some camaraderie, and also it's a little cheaper than private lessons. And the multi-use green that's being used for croquet has been seeded, and it's expected to open in July. And staff is working to establish a croquet club that will offer training and competitions. So again, as you go to the course, please go check it out. It's really, really neat looking. And that's all for the golf committee.
Thanks very much. The next report is the Sustainability Task Force, and this is Trustee Mulvaney's last report. as our representative on the Sustainability Task Force.
I'm sure you're all pleased about that. So the Sustainability Task Force has been hard at work making Glencoe the most desirable and sustainable community in the galaxy, as they've been doing since they started. There were 3 items of note that I'd like to make you all aware of. The first is the Sustainability Action Plan report that will be coming to the board as soon as next month, but depending upon your agendas, so that will be coming to you guys shortly. It will be finalized quite soon. The second item that's important for everybody to make note of is the Donate and Recycle Drop-Off event, Saturday, June 3rd, 10 to 1. Be there. Just so you know, I'm going to run through this. I apologize for taking a little extra time, but Station 1, there'll be the thrift store, things such as dishes and tableware, holiday decor. Station 2, gear for goals. This will be gently used sports equipment, working bikes, so if you've got an extra bike in your garage, please bring it down. Next one is Epilepsy Foundation, clothing, small appliances, etc. Evanston Rebuilding will be there. They're looking for bathroom fixtures, garden pots, etc. We will have a place for can recycling, flat can recycling, such as aerosol cans, isobutane canisters, etc. Apt Electronics will be there. They'll be taking small appliances and styrofoam. And then the last station is a construction debris. So if you've got any concrete, brick, shingles, scrap metal, wood, etc., you can bring it Saturday, June 3rd, between 10 and 1 at the train station. There's a nice little map. It's very well organized. It's been a very successful event over the years. And this is a direct impact on reducing our impact on landfill, right? So this is putting things back into circulation for reuse. Please bring your materials. It will also make the actual day when we throw everything on the curb a little bit more pleasant. The third item that I wanted to bring up is the task force is working on cul-de-sac review, considering how cul-de-sacs in town can be enhanced with native plantings. Native plantings, of course, help with our stormwater, help attract wildlife, keep out more invasive species, etc. Many benefits of doing that. So that's a little piece of Glencoe that perhaps we can improve from a sustainability landscape perspective. We could probably learn a lot. We could probably learn a lot from the golf course on how to do that, and perhaps think about a planting regime that's complementary. That's the report from the Sustainability Task Force, and if there's any questions, I'm happy to take them.
Are we going to promote that June 3rd on its social and website?
We've been heavily promoting it already, but we will continue as it gets closer.
Thank you. Next report is from the Council for Inclusion and Community, and this is going to be Trustee Rubin's last report because he's changing committees. Trustee Rubin.
Giveaway before the start of the school year, and the council decided to place second Sundays on vacation during the summer months while having a presence at these other events. Last, council has continued its discussions about possible formats for the September speaker series event, which is intended to focus on having difficult conversations in a civilized way. And the next council meeting will be Wednesday, June 7th at
report, and our last report is the Preservation Commission, Trustee Underdog.
Thank you very much. The Historic Preservation Commission, or what I should call it, the Preservation Commission, they did not meet on May 2nd due to not being able to get enough members available for a quorum. However, the group is still continuing to work on a recommended communication program and outreach to potential owners. Also continuing to prepare for a follow-up meeting with the village board on recommendations to advance historic preservation. The next meeting of the commission, I believe, will be the first Tuesday in June. Thank you very much.
Thanks for that report. The next item on the agenda is the report of officers, and the first part of that is the village manager's report. Village Manager Corrali.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good evening, everyone. The first item on my report today is always one of the more fun things that we get to do, which is to welcome some individuals to our public safety department. We'll be swearing in 3 new officers tonight, and I'd ask Director Lewandowski to introduce them to us.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Crowley. Mr. President, members of the board, it's my pleasure to introduce 3 new public safety officers tonight. First one is Mark Custer. Officer Custer took a different path to get here than most other candidates. In September 2022, Mark was hired from the Public Safety Commission's entry-level examination process for public safety officer. At that time, he was enrolled in paramedic school at Highland Park Hospital, so he completed that training after we hired him. He graduated and became a certified paramedic in December, and then he started the police academy in January and graduated a few weeks ago. He's presently in the field training program, which will last 12 to 16 weeks before he goes out on solo patrol. So he's basically spent the last year in training, so now he'll get to apply everything that he's learned as he becomes a public safety officer finally. And I'm confident he'll continue to grow as he learns from veteran FTO officers over the next few months. Mark, congratulations and welcome to Glencoe. I appreciate your hard work in paramedic school and the police academy, and I look forward to watch you continue to grow as you begin your public safety career. Congratulations. We'll call you to the oath. Mark, I'll give you this.
I, Mark Custer, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Illinois
the Constitution of the State of Illinois
and the ordinances of the Village of Glencoe,
and the ordinances of the Village of Glencoe,
and that I will faithfully discharge
and that I will faithfully discharge
the duties of the position of Public Safety Officer
the duties of the position of Public Safety Officer
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
Next is Richard Santana. Richard joins by his parents, Domingo and Isabel, as well as his brother Angel tonight. Welcome to Glencoe, and thank you for being here. In April, Richard was hired from the Public Safety Commission's lateral entry process for Public Safety Officer. And again, the goal of that process is to recruit and hire experienced police officers to reduce the turnaround time and get qualified officers on the street faster. In fact, Richard applied through our entry-level process a number of years ago, but was not hired during that process. We didn't get that far down on the list. Since then, he's prepared himself well for this job. He became a certified law enforcement officer with 8 years' experience with the Wilmington and Chicago Police Departments, where he served as a crisis intervention team member. His training and experience will allow us to use an abbreviated field training program before he's released to solo patrol. During his first 3 weeks of field training, he's worked hard to learn to become part of the team and contribute to our overall success in serving the public. Richard, congratulations and welcome to Glencoe. I appreciate you for starting a new chapter of your career with us, where you continue to grow as a public safety professional, adding fire and emergency medical services to your skill set. Mr. Crowley. Here, Richard.
That I will support the Constitution of the United States. The Constitution of the State of
Brian Gold. Brian joined here tonight with his wife Paige and his daughter Althea. Second row back there. Thank you for being here. In April, Brian was hired from the Public Safety Commission's lateral entry examination process also. His first day on shift was yesterday, and he showed up today, which is a great thing. Brian is also very well prepared for this job. He's a certified law enforcement officer with almost 5 years' experience with the Wilmette Police Department. Brian has also served in the U.S. Coast Guard since 2009. Active service from 2009 to 2018 and reserve service since 2018. Brian has a bachelor's degree in accounting and he is a state-certified traffic accident reconstructionist. Again, his training and experience with Wilmette will allow him to use an abbreviated field training program as well. I'm confident that he'll prove to be an excellent addition to the department and a fine representative of the department as well. Brian, congratulations and welcome to Glencoe. I appreciate you for starting a new chapter of your career with us as well, where you will continue to grow as a public safety professional. Mr. Crowley, congratulations. And here's your chief, Brian. Thank you.
Before our new public safety officers leave, let me say on behalf of the village and the village board, we are so proud of our public safety officers because we are able to hire terrific people like you. We have confidence in you, and I'll only give one piece of it. In Glencoe, we have wonderful men and women serving as public safety officers. And in Glencoe, maybe not everywhere else, but in Glencoe, the public safety officer is your friend. So as you go out and do your job, we're thrilled that you're here. Welcome.
And I would just add to the village president's wonderful comments. Very glad you're here. Glad to see your families with you. Thank you to your families for sharing you with us and with our community. We're a better community because of the dedicated individuals in the public safety department. And it's always an honor of mine to be able to administer that oath to you as you start your career with us. Look forward to that being a long career, and thank you again for your service. And welcome, and welcome. And you don't have to stay for the rest of the meeting, but we're totally okay with it if you do. There's cake after the next meeting, so you can stick around for that.
Or you could take
Or you
off
can-
and come back for the cake.
That's true too. That's true too.
Okay.
So my report this evening will be relatively brief. I wanted to make one comment, one reminder about an upcoming event. We do have the village's annual Memorial Day ceremony coming up on Monday, May 29th. That'll be at 11 a.m. at Veterans Memorial Park, which is located at the corner of Old Green Bay Road and Park Avenue. It's always a really nice program put together by the Historical Society, and a few of the folks sitting behind the dais today will be speakers at that event. So look forward to spending some time with the community and remembering those on Memorial Day. One last note, and it's kind of passed without much fanfare. Today, the governor's public health emergency relative to the COVID-19 pandemic lapsed, and for the first time since the early part of March 2020, there is no executive order declaring that public health emergency in place. It's hard to fathom what we were all thinking about in early March of 2020. And while COVID is still with us and still something that impacts our community and the broader community around us, I'm grateful for how far we've come. And I thought it would be important to underscore my gratitude to the staff for the work that they did through really difficult, unknown times. And I think back to what we were doing together. Our last board meeting for about a year and a half in person was in March of 2020. And then we shut everything down for a long time and still managed to make sure that the community was served by the most important components of what we do every day: public safety, public works. The village board continued to meet regularly, more frequently than needed sometimes, or than normal, but as frequently as needed, depending upon what was going on. And I just want to express my gratitude to everybody who kept things moving forward on the village's behalf through what was really uncharted waters. And to also say thank you to the community for banding together, following the myriad of public safety and public health orders that were issued over time, and for coming out even stronger than when we started. But what a time it was. And as I said, it kind of passed unceremoniously today with that expiration, but I thought it was worth mentioning. So with that, my report for this evening is concluded, unless there are any questions that anyone may have.
I don't see any questions. So the next item on the agenda is the village president's report. Tonight, the report is going to be comprised of 7 proclamations that we're going to issue, assuming they're approved. The first 4 proclamations concern our employees, because May of every year is when the village celebrates the contributions made to Glencoe by our employees, public safety officers, public works, all of our employees. And as you know, all the people on the board know, a large reason why this is a lovely place to live is because of the terrific work of the village's employees. So we have 4 resolutions. The first one is a proclamation declaring May 7th to 13th, 2023 as Public Service Recognition Week in Glencoe. The second proclamation is declaring May 4th, 2023 as International Firefighters Day in Glencoe. The third proclamation declares May 14th to 20th, 2023 as National Police Week in Glencoe. And the fourth proclamation declares May 21st to 27th, 2023 as National Public Works Week in Glencoe. We are, as I said, so grateful for the superb work from our employees. Unless anyone wants to say anything, is there a motion to issue these first 4 proclamations?
So moved.
Second. It's been moved and seconded. We can have a voice vote. All in favor of issuing these 4 proclamations, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? The motion carries. The next proclamation is one declaring May as Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month. The proclamations are, they're all available on our website, and they've been circulated to the board. Unless there's anyone that has questions about this, is there a motion to issue this proclamation?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? The motion carries. The next proclamation is one declaring May as Jewish American History Month. And again, that's been circulated and published. Unless there's discussion, is there a motion to approve May as the Jewish American History Month?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? No. The motion carries. And finally, we have a proclamation declaring June as Pride Month in the village of Glencoe. Again, this proclamation has been circulated to the board, published to the community. Unless there's discussion, is there a motion to issue this proclamation?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? The motion carries. Okay, that covers the village president's report. The next item on the agenda is the consent agenda. The consent agenda includes items that have been published online for the community and reviewed by the board, either individually or in a committee of the whole meeting. We don't think consent agenda items warrant further public discussion unless anyone disagrees. And by the way, all the items on the consent agenda have been published for the community to see online. Unless anyone objects, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, and on these, because of the nature of this, we need a roll call. Village Manager Corrali.
Trustee Hallwax.
Yes.
Trustee Listner.
Yes.
Trustee Mulvaney.
Yes.
Trustee Onderdonk. Trustee Rubin.
Yes.
Trustee Vree.
Yes.
The motion carries. Okay, that concludes the consent agenda item on the agenda. The next item on the agenda is regular business. And the first item for that is a public hearing concerning the intent of the board to sell not more than $4.6 million in general obligation bonds and also waterworks system alternate revenue source to pay the cost of improving the waterworks system of the village. And I'll ask our finance director, Nikki Larson, to present concerning this.
You have to open the
And, excuse me, opening the public hearing for the concerning this $4.6 million fund.
Okay, thank you, President Roden. Just a couple items of orders of business before we get into the summary. Notice of this hearing was published in Glencoe News on Thursday, April 27th, and copy of such notice has been posted at least 48 hours before this hearing in the office of the village clerk, 675 Village Court, which notice has been continuously available for public review during the entire 48-hour period preceding the hearing. A full copy of the village board's ordinance authorizing the sale of these bonds was also published in the Glencoe News on May 4th. The purpose of this hearing is to notify the public of the village's intent to issue bonds and also to receive public comments on the proposal to sell general obligation alternate revenue source bonds in the amount not to exceed $4.6 million. Last month, the village board authorized bonds to be issued up to a maximum of $4.6 million. However, the goal of the bond sale will be to yield $4.3 million in proceeds to fund water improvements for the next 3 years. This year's budget includes water main improvements on Pebblewood Lane, Sunrise Circle, and Skokie Ridge Drive between Oak Ridge, Elm Ridge Drives, and Sunset Lane. This year's budget included $1.7 million for water main improvements, but the good news is that the bids came in at $1.2 million, so we are going to see a savings there. The excess funding will be reinvested into the water main improvement program, so we will have that excess money for the next 2 years. The repayment of these bonds is intended to be entirely from water revenues, so this will not impact residential water bills. Estimated annual payments on the bonds will range between $331,000 and $336,000. Ultimately, the size of the payment, the duration of the bonds, And the setup of the entire 20-year issue will be dependent on the results of a competitive bond sale that will take place in June, the day of the village board meeting. A quick note on timelines as we move forward. As you can see from this slide, we started this process in January with the bid results being officially authorized and accepted by the village board. In March, we authorized a reimbursement resolution. As work on this water main project has already begun, we did want to make sure that we could recapture those expenses from bond proceeds and reimburse the village for those costs. In April last month, we approved an authorizing ordinance that officially authorizes the issuance of bonds. That starts the official 30-day petition period that allows residents to comment on the village's intention to issue alternate revenue bonds. This process is required under alternate revenue bonds because there is no referendum attached to it. So we will not need to have a hearing similar to this for the golf issue that was approved via referendum in April of this year. Following the 30-day petition period, if the village does not receive any opposition or comments, there will be a competitive sale held on June 15th, the day of the village board meeting, where a two-part series of bonds will be issued. It will be the $4.6 million in alternate revenue bonds and the first installment of the golf referendum bonds, which we have set to be $3 million. The results of the bond sale will be presented for the village board's approval that evening. The village board has its entire discretion whether to approve or deny the results of the sale. And then if the bond ordinance or the bond sale is approved, the bonds will close in late June. And I'm happy to answer any questions on the process or what's the information that's been presented to you this evening.
Are there any questions? Just for the record, the reason there aren't any questions is because, as was described by our finance director, the village board has talked about this a bunch in public forums already. So this is a public hearing. The room is not filled with people that look like they want to talk about this, but now is your chance. I don't see anyone that has any further comments, so thank you, Finance Director Larson, and I think I should close the hearing. Is there a motion to close the public hearing?
Yes.
Is there a second?
Second.
We need a roll call then.
Trustee Hallwell. Yes. Trustee Lister.
Yes.
Trustee Mulvaney.
Yes.
Trustee Onderdonk. Trustee Rubin. Trustee Bree.
Yes.
Motion carries. The hearing is closed. The next, and thank you again for the presentation. The next item on the agenda is referral to the Zoning Commission of a proposed zoning code amendment regarding gross floor area regulations for decks. And I'll ask our Development Services Manager, Taylor Baxter, to present on this. Taylor.
Thank you, President Rowan. This is a referral of a proposed zoning code amendment regarding a somewhat technical issue which has been described in your packet. We can get into it as much detail as you'd like, but I'm going to try not to spend too much time in the weeds on it. As some background, gross floor area, the definition in our zoning code does present some problems for residents when they're trying to repair or enlarge decks in some cases. Decks currently are included in gross floor area totals, sometimes referred to as FAR. If one of these two conditions is met, either if the floor of the deck is at least 3.5 feet high, or if the railings are at least 3.5 feet above the deck floor. So one of the two. The problem is that a village amendment to the International Building Code requires 3.5 foot high railings on any deck that is 2.5 feet or higher. So regardless of what condition 1 says or criteria 1 and up above says about requiring a inclusion if it's 3.5 feet or higher, in practice any deck that is 2.5 feet or higher need to be included, because if your deck is 2.5 feet or higher, your railing has to be 3.5 feet or higher, which then triggers inclusion. So that's not a problem necessarily in and of itself, except for the fact that there are many decks throughout the village that are between 2.5 and 3.5 feet in height that have railings that are 2.5 feet in height, which is your standard International Building Code railing height requirement for that height of a deck. Because of our amendment to the building code, we require 3.5 feet in height. So if you're one of these people who has a 2.5 foot high to 3.5 foot high deck with a 2.5 foot high railing, and you want to repair your railings or you want to enlarge your deck, we're going to require you to bring it into compliance with your code, bring that railing up to 3.5 feet in height, which at that point, the entire deck must be included in FAR totals, which is a problem because a lot of these decks were built with building permits in the past, and now they're thrown out of compliance. In some cases, you can get around this with a variation, which is a somewhat lengthy and uncertain process. We have at least one case. There's a case with a permit application we've received recently with an existing deck where they can't even apply for a variation because if they repair this deck and they bring it into compliance with that existing railing height, the deck would bring the property out of compliance with FAR regulations to the point that the ZBA cannot even grant that variation. They only have a 15% limit that they can grant. So they can't do anything at that point. When you get to this point, it could encourage property owners to do unpermitted work on their deck or have decks fall into a state of disrepair, which is problematic. So our proposal is to amend the definition of gross floor area so that instead of saying that inclusion is triggered when railings are at least 3.5 feet in height, that they be included when they are higher than 3.5 feet in height. This means that decks that are between 2.5 feet and 3.5 feet in height, if you have your minimal required railing height, you're not included. If you are 3.5 feet or higher in height, or you have railings that are higher than needed, you would still be included. There would be no change there. So the change would be that decks between that 2.5 feet and 3.5 feet in height, if you have your minimally required railing, you're no longer included. This is also a discussion in the packet. This is not a policy change. This is clarifying language, clarifying the difference between grade and ground. Currently, it says the code says that the deck should be measured 3.5 feet above grade. This needs clarification in staff's opinion because of the definition of grade in the zoning code. This would not be a change in the way that our FAR requirements function. It's clarifying language that we're recommending as part of this proposed amendment. So the process for this is tonight would be either denial of this proposed code amendment or referral to the zoning commission for a public hearing and recommendation, at which point it would come back to the village board for final consideration and a final decision on it. So that would be your decision tonight, whether to refer to the zoning commission for a public hearing or not. There's a diagram. This is in your packet if there's any confusion about the definition of grade and how it's currently interpreted. And with that, I'll turn it over to President Rowan.
Thanks for that presentation. Taylor, just did the zoning board actually get a request for
No.
one of these, or they haven't yet? But,
They have not.
But you as staff saw this and identified a problem.
Yes, and this is especially this is coming to you now because we've gotten a permit recently where someone wants to do a deck repair and enlargement, and they can't do anything with their deck, and they can't request a variation because of the way that the code is currently written. That's why we've moved this ahead of this project.
Look, so I remember I was actually on the village board 35, 40 years ago when we first did floor area ratio, which it turns out to be a good idea, and it serves a village purpose. When we did it, we were totally faking it. Totally. We had no idea. There weren't a lot of examples, and we were pulling numbers out of the air, and over time the village has fixed it so that it's something that makes sense for the village. It makes the community look the way we want. And it seems like here we have a technicality that we can fix. And for tonight, let's do the first step. In my view, let's send it to the zoning commission. And if it turns out to make sense, as it seems like it does, they'll send it back to us, and then we can do it. So I recommend that we take the first step. Anybody have any comment, or?
I did have one quick clarification. I was looking confused between railing and like a bench. The prior slide just mentioned railing, but you could have a bench, you have to put it in the back.
That's right. So this is an abridged version of the definition of gross floor area. The actual definition in the code specifically includes benches in that height limit as well. So you can have a bench if your bench is higher than 3.5 feet off the ground, or it would count, or currently 3.5 feet or higher, your deck would count. Your bench, if you have a deck that's higher than 30 inches, 2.5 feet off the ground right now, to count as your protective railing, the bench would have to be 3.5 feet high. Yes, but some kind of a bench could function as a protective.
Is there a motion to approve referring this to the zoning commission? There's,
Second.
okay, I think we need a roll call.
Trustee Hallwax.
Yes.
Trustee Listener.
Yes.
Trustee Mulvaney. Trustee Underdog.
Yes.
Trustee Rubin.
Yes.
Trustee Vree.
Yes.
The motion carries. Thank you, Taylor, for the presentation, and it's always good when we're sort of correcting problems in our zoning code. Okay, the next item on the agenda is other business. Normally, this is blank, but tonight is different because this is the last village board meeting for two of our trustees, Trustee Mulvaney and Trustee Vree, and so I'd like to give each of them an opportunity to make a comment. Trustee Mulvaney.
I just wanted to say thank you to the staff and for all the other volunteers, commissions, and experts. Really, thank you. It's a privilege to be sitting in the seats. Really appreciate everybody's effort.
My turn?
It is.
All right.
Thank you.
I can't believe it's been 8 years. I've really enjoyed my time on the board. It's been a real honor to serve. And over the 8 years, I've come to really appreciate everybody who I've served with. I've really appreciated everyone who works for the village. You all operate with the highest integrity. And I'm, impressed at all times. You guys keep the village of Glencoe at the top of mind, and you operate with its best intentions pretty much every time I've seen you do anything. And so I've really appreciated it, and you guys are great. And so thank you. It's been a good 8 years.
Thank you. Don't go anywhere. Even when this meeting seems to end, don't go anywhere. We don't have a closed session tonight, so the next item on the agenda is to adjourn, but we have to adjourn specially because there's another meeting coming up. Our esteemed village attorney has told me that we need a motion to adjourn sine die. So, is there a motion to adjourn sine die?
So move CADA.
Second.
We know it's got a second.
You're adjourning this body with no return date. And then you'll convene a new body, a new public body for the village of Glencoe.
We can have a voice vote for this. It's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? The motion carries. So we're adjourned to go to our next meeting.
All right, yeah, thank you.
Like I said, don't go away.
We're not.
All right, so the next item on the, so we have another meeting, but before we do the other meeting, we have a little business to attend to, which is to install our new and one returning trustee. So what I'd like to do is have, and we'll do this one at a time, trustees, Trustee Hallwax and our new trustees, Hopper Mealopolis and Scott, and I'll swear you in.
But it will be so much better if he does.
I state your name.
I, Joe Halwax,
Having been elected village trustee in the village of Glencoe, county of Cook,
having been elected village trustee in the village of Glencoe in the county of Cook,
state of Illinois,
in the state of Illinois,
solemnly swear
solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the state of Illinois,
and the Constitution of the state of Illinois,
that I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office of village trustee to the best of my ability.
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office of the village trustee to the best of my ability.
Okay. Trustee George Mahaffey. I state your name. Having been elected village trustee
I don't
of the village of Glencoe in the county of Cook in the state of Illinois, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States, the Constitution of the state of Illinois, and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office of village trustee to the best of my ability. I, having been elected village trustee in the village of Glencoe in the county of Cook in the state of Illinois, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the state of Illinois, that I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office of village trustee to the best of my ability. Next, come on up.
You get to come down here where the cool kids are.
Welcome, everybody. We're going to start our second meeting. I'd like to call the meeting to order, and I'll ask our village manager to a roll call.
All right, trustee Hallwax.
Yeah, we're doing a roll call?
We're doing a roll call. Trustee Listener.
Here.
Trustee Mealopolis.
Here.
Trustee Onderdunk.
Here.
Trustee Rubin.
Here.
Trustee Scott.
Here.
We
And
have
me.
a quorum. And President Rowan. We have a quorum.
Okay. The next item on our agenda for this second meeting is appointment to official village positions and village commissions. We have published online and circulated to the board a memorandum with the names of the appointees to official village positions, standing committees of the village board, and positions on the various advisory boards and commissions. It's all been published.
It's part of the agenda.
It's part of the agenda. It's online. And unless anyone has any questions, comments, or objections, I'll ask for a motion to accept all of those appointments.
Motion to accept all of the new appointments.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. We should have a roll call, please.
Can I just,
Please.
the motion should be to accept the appointments, reappointments, and confirmations.
Okay, do the movement and second go with our village attorney?
Yes.
Okay, all right, we matched.
We need to
I don't think so.
Yes, it's
Okay,
fine.
yes.
The
Okay,
minutes will not reflect.
okay. Village Manager Crowley, let's have a roll call, please. for the
Trustee
appointments.
Hallwax.
Yes.
Trustee Listner.
Yes.
Trustee Mealopoulos.
Yes.
Trustee Underdunk. Trustee Rubin.
Yes.
Trustee Scott.
Yes.
Motion carries. Next item is regular business. And we have a series of resolutions. As is our practice, we don't read the whole resolution. They're published for the record. I'd like to start with resolutions for our two departing trustees. The meeting we just had was the last one for our two most senior trustees, Jonathan Bree and Pete Mulvaney. They've now completed 2 consecutive 4-year terms, which is, according to our caucus, doesn't control Glencoe, but according to our caucus, we have term limits. Tonight, I present for village board approval resolutions honoring Jonathan and Pete. The resolutions have been circulated to the board. They're published online with the agenda. And I'm not going to, as I said, I'm not going to read the whole thing, but I want to make a few comments about Jonathan and Pete. Jonathan Bree has been the chair of the village board's finance committee for all 8 years that he was on the board. In that position, he's helped keep the village, keep its AAA bond rating, which saves our residents hundreds of thousands of dollars over the life of the bonds that we issue to pay for our infrastructure. He's helped the village stay ahead of its pension obligations. And he's helped to ensure that the village maintains its infrastructure and services in a financially responsible way. Throughout his 8 years serving as a trustee, Jonathan has been a thoughtful advocate for our community, and he leaves Glencoe in excellent financial condition. The other retiring trustee, Pete Mulvaney, has been our environmental leader. Pete is responsible for the creation of the Sustainability Task Force, and he's been the village board's representative on the task force. In addition to serving on the task force, Pete has led us to consider environmental sustainability in literally everything we do. As Pete says, he's worked hard to make Glencoe the most desirable and sustainable village in the galaxy. In addition, Pete's always encouraged the village to think out of the box, looking for ways to make the village better, to better serve our residents. It was my good fortune to have Jonathan Pete on the village board for the 2 years that I've been president. And it is the village's good fortune to have had their service for the past 8 years. So tonight, with these resolutions, we say to them, thank you, and that you will be missed. Is there a motion, can we do both at once? Is there a motion to issue the resolutions concerning our now former trustees, Jonathan Bree and Pete Mulvaney? I think we can have we need a roll call? Voice vote. Okay, is all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? The motion carries. Thank you. Time out for the picture. Stand by.
One individual.
Yeah.
On principle.
Yeah.
Okay. Right. We also have two additional resolutions. The first one is a resolution honoring Alex Kaplan, who served on the zoning board, and he served with me. He did a terrific job. The motion has been circulated to the board. It's been published online. Unless there are any comments, is there a motion to approve the resolution for Alex Kaplan?
So moved.
Is there a second? It's been moved and seconded. I think we need a roll call. Oh, just a voice, sorry. Just a voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? The motion carries, so we'll issue the resolution honoring Alex Kaplan. And the last resolution is honoring Margot Flanagan. Margot has served on the Council for Inclusion and Community and on, I'm not sure how many predecessor names. She's a stalwart, so it could have been the Human Relations Commission, which I would note my dad was on back in the day. We have the resolution has been circulated with the agenda. It's been reviewed by the board, but I want to say, Margot, how grateful we are for your service to the village. Because of the work that the council does, and because of the work you do, Glencoe is a welcome and inclusive place, so thank you. Is there a motion to issue the resolution honoring Margot Flanagan?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. I think we can do a voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? The next item on the agenda is closed session. We don't have one. And finally, a motion to adjourn for real, subject to cake. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn for real, subject to cake.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you, everyone, and thank you, everyone, and welcome to our two